Good morning, good morning, good morning. Greetings from Chicago. Well, outside of Chicago. And where are you? Let us know where you're joining us from. Okay? Let us know where you're joining us from. I see Chiara Galetti, Light of Love. Ronan Patriot joined. Duke Conrad, Pilarina, Helga Brosdahl. Good morning. Where are you joining us from? Brent Mosley. I see Chitra. I see Jersey Girl. I see, two in Taiwan. I don't know how to say it, but I see you. And isn't that really what matters? Seeing more than always being able to pronounce. Now, if I wanted to create the best impression possible, I would pronounce only the names I knew how to, like Chada from Turkey, Patty from Amsterdam. But no, I go and try to figure it all out. Why not? Why not? I opened a fortune cookie, a Chinese fortune cookie that said something along the lines of, your curiosity will bring you great fortune. Well, let's all be curious. I think that sort of makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, curiosity has us look into things, has us explore. And what are some of the gorgeous things we can find when we allow ourselves to explore? Well, we might discover the ability, the light that allows us to see source in everyone and everything. That might just be the key. Allowing ourselves to see source in everyone and in everything. I mean, really, I'm sipping a cup of tea. I have a beautiful honey that Jillian got. I put a teaspoon into it. Honey comes from the bees. The bees allow our planet to exist as it does. Can I see source in the honey? Can I see source in my tea? Can I see source in the cup that allows me to bring the tea up to my mouth for a sip? How many things can you see source in that we've not really looked at? We brought Christmas gifts to a couple of our nieces last night. Their eyes, when they looked at the wrapping paper, their eyes lit up. Do you think for a moment that was not source that we allowed ourselves to see? I mean, we could look at things from the surface, but that's a choice. I can look at the surface of the tea. That's a choice. Or I can see the honey in the tea. That's a choice. It's perspective. It's how we allow ourselves to explore awareness with a lowercase a or big capital A. can we see through the awareness that we are, as opposed to reducing it to what we're able to understand through our thinking. For instance, in much of the energy healing world, there's a focus on, let's say, redirecting the chakras to where we think they should be. Should they be going clockwise or counterclockwise? All the same direction, other directions. Redirecting the chakras is still the ego aspect in healing. It's the ego of treatment. It is thinking instead of being and knowingness. It is thinking instead of being. Gabby Kovalenko says we can tap more into wisdom when we allow ourselves to forget about ourselves. We can tap into wisdom more when we forget about ourselves. That's letting go of the thinking, the judgment, the ego, the determination, the how good am I, and instead being. Breathe with that. We can tap into wisdom more when we forget about ourselves. Be with that. If you're not familiar with Gabby Kovalenko, she is a brilliant 23-year-old. Look her up. Give a listen. Take a view. One of the thoughts that Gabby and I share is that attaching to any one reality, attaching to any one way, any one reality is trying to condense the infinite into a container or a box. I've got to tell you, this is a really excellent honey in this tea. Some of you may notice that I tend to have a cup of tea often when we have these gatherings. Think of one, make one for yourselves. Let's have a cup of tea together next time. In the Reconnective Healing training programs, when we are teaching the reconnection itself, actually, no, healing itself as well, we share this concept of if you're doing anything because you think it looks good, there's a level of performance, a level of, I think Gabby uses the word inauthenticity about it. You know, it's easy sometimes to get caught up, especially if you have a big mirror in your healing room or something, with saying, oh, I'm moving my hands like this. Such grace, such style, such presence, such ego, such separation. Beauty comes without intending it. You know, the story about the man or the woman who takes, 2.5 hours to get dressed and get their hair just right and their makeup on and their clothes. And the friends are saying, come on, let's go, hurry up. And the response from the person getting ready is, it's not easy to be naturally beautiful. Now, if you're wondering what that means, it's a joke. It's not easy being naturally beautiful. Listen. Beauty is your nature. Beauty is our nature. Beauty is love. If you're doing anything because you think it looks good, you're already into thought. You've already moved into a division, into a separation, into judgment, into the personality. So taking a breath, let it out. And ask yourself this question. Do you want to be in the division of thought or the oneness of being? Today we're being tempted by a very large movement into artificial intelligence. So the question might be, do you want to be in the division, the separation, the artificiality of artificial intelligence? Or the presence, the beingness, the unity of the organic? I'm not saying don't pay attention to how you present yourself. Maybe you don't want to go to a formal wedding evening reception wearing 3 shades of plaid. I get it. Pay some attention. But beauty, true beauty is your nature. Your nature, your being, your smile will overcome those 3 shades of plaid. The division of the artificial intelligence instead of the unity, of the thinking instead of the being. This division, often called duality, it is honey's a little strong. The division, how do I say this? Duality is the fragmentation of who we are. That's part of the reason that we discover true healing when we release our energy healing techniques, when we allow technique in healing to self-dissolve. That's when we truly discover healing, because what we're allowing to dissolve with those techniques is that fragmentation. And when we let go of the doing, we return to the wholeness that is and has been inherently us all along. So breathe with that. When I let go of all that I am doing, who do I return to other than the oneness, the wholeness of who I inherently am? Breathe with that. Be with that. Allowing ourselves to be is liberation. Another word for freedom. But we can only liberate ourselves to who we really are. That's part of what I discovered in healing, when I discovered healing, true healing, the reconnection of all of healing, is that freedom, that peace, that joy, that seemed on one hand different than anything that I'd ever known, and yet simultaneously it was more familiar than anything that I had ever known, because I was looking at known from what I allowed my mind to perceive. But it was my liberation. And I can only liberate myself to who I really am. Receive. Breathe. At your own rate, if you find yourself being reminded of how you should be breathing, what someone explained to you about a count of breaths in and out, let go. Live a little. Liberate yourself. In that, it's what we think of as a raising of our frequency. Although I'm not in love with the directional term of raising, as if one direction is superior to another. But letting the judgmental aspect from the directional terminology go, it's an upgrade. It's really an upgrade to recognize that you are ultimately source. Ultimately, you are the creator. So choose to let go. Choose to allow guidance from a greater intelligence, which is you, from infinite intelligence, to shepherd us to inspire awakening, which is really an awakening to who and what we are, infinite being. Only truth transcends duality. Only love transcends duality. This was an almost quote from a brilliant mind, Robert Edward Grant. Let me see if I can find exactly the way he said it. Love is the only thing that can transcend duality. The only truth that transcends is love. Breathe with that. Be with that. Look into some of the teachings and sharings of Robert Edward Grant. The different flavors, he'll explain, of divinity are expressing themselves in each and every one of us. So coming back to how we opened today, challenge yourself to look at each and every person in your life, whether they're in your life deeply or whether there's someone you're just walking past on the sidewalk. The different flavors of divinity are expressing themselves in each and every one of us. The people who manifest in our lives, be with this, breathe with this for a moment. The people who manifest in our lives are manifesting because of the change in us. That change really simply being not so much a change, except our recognitions of who and what we are. Thank you, everyone, for your greetings. I've been so sort of focused on what we were sharing this morning that I hadn't actually been reading them. So I'm looking in right now and discovering that Germany is as freezing as we are here. And yes, Renee, thank you for sharing how mind-boggling the creation of honey by the bees is. The only obstacles that stand in our way, might they be the ones that we believe as being real? The only obstacles that stand in our way are the ones that we believe are real. How does that recognition free us? How does it liberate us? If the only real obstacles that stand in your way are those that you believe are real, how would that affect your life? Thank you, Sir Quantic, for your comment and observation. We are investing in ourselves every time we allow ourselves the presence of sharing together. It's part of what I love about Wednesday mornings here. Let's just take a minute or two and breathe. Luminicious says, I would make much faster decisions if I fully lived that knowing. You know, so would I. And yet, our willingness to live that knowing, our openness to it, is a huge part of our unveiling, revealing of ourselves. And the recognition of that also recognizes that there's no reason to think that we're not doing something well enough, good enough, punishing ourselves for not always being in that recognition. Part of our growth comes from stepping into it, finding that we're not in there, returning back into it again. Really, part of developing our strength requires the recognition and the experience at times of a certain level of resistance. Moving through our challenges requires challenges. Learning forgiveness may be recognizing that the people in our lives who seem to have done things that maybe felt like betrayal on one level or another have volunteered that to help us learn forgiveness. Without it, how would we? We would have to experience things that hurt us in order to learn to get to a point where we are no longer feeling hurt because we are no longer in judgment of those actions. That could be a whole other conversation. But what is the judgment? You know, we have friends today. A popular word is woke. We have friends today, people that we know who consider themselves woke. Sometimes, if we really allow ourselves to look at it, we discover that the consideration of ourselves as woke is a judgment, is an ego. Many of those who consider themselves woke are in judgment of others who they consider not so woke. And really, that's something to look at, isn't it? So, I believe it was Robert Edward Grant who said, how do you learn forgiveness if you don't have some good friends who volunteer to betray you? He's very good. He's very funny. I believe he also said if we change our judgment and interpretation of things that appear to be happening to us, we can live a more, he would use the word, evolved life. Elaine says, I think we can easily find beauty in nature, but not so much in each other. That is an obstacle for me at times. It's true, we don't feel judged by nature, or puppies, or infants. But sometimes we find our own judgment of others in others, and that can bring about a little bit more of a challenge. So I see a couple of requests to talk. I'm going to go into the box and see if I can accept one or two. See if that comes up. Hello? Not yet. Let's try again. here comes someone. Hello. Okay.
Hola.
Hi.
¿Cómo estás?
Hello.
Muy contenta. No entiendo, no hablo inglés,
Well, that might make
pero,
it interesting to talk.
pero bueno, nada. Feliz igual de poder haberme comunicado con vos y nada, no lo puedo creer. Mucha emoción, pero bueno, no hablo inglés. Nada, siempre te sigo en las redes y bueno, la verdad que me encanta, o sea, la sanación es impresionante. Tomé una vez una sesión, eh, pero hace mucho que dieron ustedes durante la pandemia y me hizo muy bien, así que bueno, pero bueno, lamentablemente no hablo inglés. Pensé que se podía igual, o sea, que podían haber alguna comunicación en español, pero bueno, no hablo inglés.
Well, thank you for joining us with your smile. It's beautiful. Okay, and that is healing enough for everyone. So thank you.
Gracias.
Okay, so we'll see if we can click off from that. And there's one more person I believe I saw, so let's see if she comes back in. I think it was Lou. I think I saw the name Lou. Let me see if you pop back on. Oh, I'm not seeing you there. So let's find the joy and the beauty. Let's allow ourselves to see that in everything and in everyone, which includes even the humor. Let's hold on to our sense of humor, our joie de vivre, our motivation, our talents, our skills. Let's not become so serious that we are one note in everything in life. Let's find the humor and the beauty, even in sharing a conversation with someone where we didn't speak the same language. And at the same time, we can be in the presence of the love that we are, the healing that is, the oneness of everyone and everything. I believe people who follow the Vedantic path would refer to it as a non-duality, Rupert Spira was explaining. Sufis would call it oneness. Non-duality, that word can appeal to the mind. Oneness, Rupert says, may touch more the heart. Our words are learned. It's part of our conditioning, he explains, but we exist prior to that. We exist prior to our learning, prior to our conditioning, prior to being in this physical form, and long after, because even this physical lifetime, this human experience is an experience, and by virtue of anything and everything being an experience, it has a beginning, it has a middle, it has an end. Yesterday, as Wayne Dyer says, don't take ourselves so gosh darn seriously. And it really is important. You know, sometimes speaking about non-duality and oneness and unity, we can get very much into the presence of contemplation, that we lose our spontaneity, we lose our humor, we get so involved in talking about the ego, we start viewing it as a mistake, as something we have to kill, instead of recognizing that there's an importance and a value to a healthy ego. God wasn't working over the creation of a human being, accidentally dropped the ego in and went, oops, now I'll never get that sucker out. You know, there's a balance, there's something to be learned from every aspect, from every experience. We describe them through words. Words are a part of our mind. And therefore, words can never be the truth, but they can evoke truth. They can point to the truth, like light points and shines in a direction, allowing us to discover. So I appreciate your coming and sharing, discovering today, realizing that we can never really describe the nature of oneness. We can't define oneness or unity, again, because it's the words. We can't define or describe reality, the nature of being. But all of our sharing, our interactions, our attempts to describe is, again, really shining light towards it. And in that, we are evoking that recognition of the oneness that we are. So thank you for sharing a very evocative morning for me here in Chicago. It's a morning with us. And we hope to see you again here. Join us again together next week with a cup of tea or something. Every Wednesday we're here at this time. It is 7:45 California time, Pacific time, in the morning. It is 9:45 in the morning, Central time in the United States, Chicago time. 10:45 in the morning, New York time, East Coast time, and whatever time it is in your time slot. Come join us again, share. We'll chat a little bit. And for those of you who are staying, you know that after we finish today and each Wednesday, in about 30 minutes from now, which will be 11 a.m. Chicago time, 9 a.m. California time, noon, New York time, we are going to share a conversation on the book Solomon Speaks, Reconnecting Your Life. You don't have to have read it yet. Come join us, even if you knew, even if you're not familiar with it, or if you are. Join us in 30 minutes as part of the Reconnective Life community. So take a little look at our website at thereconnection.com for the Reconnective Life community. Just go to thereconnection.com, the homepage, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you'll see the Reconnective Life community. You can join us there. I know a lot of you are getting ready to join us at some of our training programs that are run by Reconnective Academy, which is handled by Guglielmo Poli, and our wonderful, we'll say, instructors who share with us. So come join us there. I know a lot of you are planning to come to the one, I think it's the first weekend. Take a look on thereconnection.com or reconnectiveacademy.com. I think it's the first weekend in February, which will be in, now I'm forgetting what it's called. Hold on, I'm going to get you right there. San Diego. San Diego. I believe that it will be, there we go, February. I'm looking. Am I seeing it in the calendar? Well, it'll be the second weekend. It'll be February 10 and 11 in San Diego will be our training, and Jillian and I are planning to join you there. That's the Catalyst program. And for those of you who want to continue on to that Monday and Tuesday, the 12th and 13th, it will also be, oh, Chelsea put it in. Thank you, Chelsea. It will also be the program for the Reconnection, learning the Reconnection, which will be level 3 in reconnective healing. So anyway, come take a look at things. Come join us. Scroll down, check the calendar, and we're going to see you there. We're going to see a lot of you in approximately 28 minutes, the Reconnective Life community, for Solomon Speaks on reconnecting your life. Come join us there, and you've got time to get a cup of tea.